Welcome back. Of all the voices you may remember from the history of WSFA, Mark Wilder's voice is among those most recognizable. He did the weather, voiceovers, editorials, and held multiple managerial jobs over his decades here at WSFA 12 News.
We sat down with him to get his memories of working at WSFA and what he remembers most.
Three words to describe WSFA. It takes me back to my marketing days, because at one time, and probably is still the case, a lot of businesses, but especially TV stations, would come up with positioning lines. And the first one, official one that we came up with since I came to the station, was Alabama's news source, and I actually came up with that, and it's the truth. But I did the weather for about 6 or 7 years, and then wanted to get into something else, so I became a promotion producer. And a few years after that, I got the promotion manager job. And then a few years after that, I got the programming job in addition to the marketing manager. And then a few years after that, I became what was, at the time, it was just called the internet manager. Basically, all the other managers, were in a line, and they said, who wants to do this new internet? And everybody stepped back except for me. Then when it became obvious that it was going to be a news tool, that's when we got serious about it. And became the digital content director, and I spent a lot of time, figuring out how things worked and sharing information with other people in the Raycom group or the Liberty group at the time, and training the news people on the software and the programs and things to try to get them on board to collect and news digitally and put it on our website. And that was the challenge. It was new, and it was not something that I could learn from somebody else who came before me. Like I say, when they made me the internet director and said, "Here, go figure this out," we had to. And so the challenge of that, if it had not been for all the yearly and even more often the meetings among all the stations in the group who shared information and shared best practices, we would not have progressed nearly as quickly as we did. I can only speak up to the end of 2017. A growing part of our revenue was going to come from ads on our digital products, and we were getting very serious about spending more and more energy on that. 3 words that would describe WSFA for me now are a very personal 3 words, and they would just be my favorite job. I hope everybody can say that when they leave.
Mark certainly left a mark on this TV station, community, and news team.
Another person who played a big role in a different side of our business is former sales manager James Belton. James worked here for years and has the cold blue jacket to prove it. He shares how he came to join the team.
I was actually working as a salesperson at Sears, and during that time, everything was going well, and all of a sudden, bottom fell out of the economy. At that time, a friend of mine that actually we were in school together, I was working at WSFA, and he asked me about perhaps coming here. And I was not so sure at the time. And Chief Dick Payne and Carl Stevens were program director at the time. They came to visit me at Sears, talk to me about opportunities. So I almost followed them back to the States. To get to WSFA back in those days, that was like going to the Super Bowl. They were one of the few stations that I knew of that sort of kept reinvesting in itself instead of continuing to work on old technology. But, I remember the old days when we worked with cameras that weighed as much as the station almost. It's for a studio camera. And also when we had the big old 2-inch reels of tape that we edited on those Ampex machines you put the edit in, you back it up to 5 seconds, and then you pray that the edit's going to take, And I worked for about 16 years. And I went to radio for 2 years, and the national sales manager's position became available at WSFA, and so I said, well, let me give it a try. Let's see what's going on. There were doors you could get into just by the call letters, and there were doors that would open and talk openly with you about, what they're trying to do. You're going to get left behind unless you are a true innovator in what you're doing. If you're going to be the bar or the standard for this industry in this market, then you got to do what it takes to hold that position.
And that's going to do it for this WSFA 12 News Special as we continue celebrating our 70th anniversary.
And we'll keep looking back at the people, the places, and history-making events that this station has covered over the last 7 decades.
We have archived our previous specials and all of our special stories right now on WSFA.com and the WSFA 12 News app for you to go back and watch at your convenience. I'm Valerie Lawson.
I'm Mark Bullock. Have a good evening.
WSFA's 70th Anniversary Special, sponsored by Bryan Jewelry,